to IGHQ. You can call me COMM, and in today's Ehpex video, we're going over all you need to know about the next season to hit the Ehpex games, Season 23, From the Rift. If you're part of the squad that checks in live, you'll have probably heard me talk about how they need to bring back some of the fun in the game, and though they just did that with Shockwave, admittedly with the dual Mozams, night map, and some of the system changes and events that have been great, I'm thinking more along the lines of how Fortnite did a no-build mode, Ehpex should do a stripped-back version of the game. And I'm excited to see that Respawn is doing just that with this new mode, LaunchRoyal. One of my main reasons why I play games is to have fun, and so I'm hoping the stripped-back version will do just that, reminding some of us veterans why we love the game in the first place, and also why we should still love the game and where it's evolved to now. We'll talk a bit more on the exacts when it comes to this mode, kind of a refresh on how the systems worked back then if you're unfamiliar, but we also need to discuss the further changes to come to the game, legends, weapons, quality of life, and bug fixes, all of that. So remember, everything is timestamped down below to help you find the facts you need, and if I did miss something, please leave it in the comments so we can have all the facts in one place. And without further ado, let's get into it. Like we always do, let's start with our rotations, map, weapons, crate, hop-up, etc. Looking at the map, for our first half, we get Stormpoint, Broken Moon, and World's Edge on rotation. Something I should note about the maps here, though, is that there's going to be some Rift relics that now have a chance to spawn in additional weapons, hop-ups, or boost kits, including the following: Hover, which allows you to ADS while in the air and hover; Void Reflex, damage that would knock a player instead sends them into a void for several seconds, returning at critical health; Reactive Regen, health/shield bars regen over time; Squad Heal, using health/shields consumable now applies to a nearby teammate; and Nessies, which summon in a Nessie companion to fight on your behalf. As well as these boost kits will also get relic weapons, like a relic alternator, which will be the LaunchRoyal version of it modified with disruptor rounds; also the relic Mastiff, a relic L-Star, which will have a high rate of fire, limited magazine capacity; a relic Spitfire, which is a LaunchRoyal variant with faster reload, improved hip fire, and heavy ammo, if you recall from back in the day. We'll also get the relic Ringman, which has the variant with the Skull Piercer on it; relic Prowler, which has the select fire automatically in there, and the higher power scope; the relic G7 Scout, this will be available with the sniper scope; and then they massively overhauled the 30-30 repeater here, which is going to allow players to heal for a percentage of the damage dealt to enemies and monsters, and if a player successfully lands a headshot, they're going to heal health and armor immediately. And they've also embedded dual loader into the weapon, as well as the magazine size is 12, and they have the Skull Piercer hop-up. Lastly, they did add a really cool special weapon, the EPG-1, a single-fire direct energy-propelled launcher, as you can see in the trailer here, even able to kind of boost yourself, which is super fun, and does some heavy damage. The gold weapon rotation for the season, we're going to have the Car, Hemlock, L-Star, Longbow, and Mastiff. As for our crate rotation, it's going to bring the Devo back to the floor with its spin-up time decreased, as well as the reversed hipfire mechanic. Tightening is actually going to be slower and become less accurate. They've also removed the turbocharger slot. In its place, though, the Havoc enters the crate with improved hipfire accuracy, magazine size up to 36, and 1 extra damage per bullet increased to 19. They've also added the Beam Shot hop-up, which essentially made this thing like a charge rifle back in the day. It will consume more of the ammo in this mode, but it is deadly accurate and does some devastating damage. On the note of hop-ups, though, the boosted loader now activates at 0 ammo and can now go on the Sentinel as well. The gun shield generator cooldown time has been decreased to 10 seconds, was 12, and it has a reduced spawn rate, as well as the hammer point rounds, which will have a reduced spawn rate as well. That should wrap up our rotations. So looking now at our balance and gameplay updates, they recently added Battle Sense last season, which was a great add, allowing you to see health bars. So we see an update there, adding some voice lines for when players are low on health or low on shields. They've also added a prompt to heal when players are low on health, and they've added a healing HUD icon that'll flash when players are low on health. As for the ammo awareness and feedback, they also have a couple voice lines added for when players are running low on ammo. There's also a clip counter that will now pulse red when at critical ammo state, and they've lowered the position of the low ammo prompt on the HUD. The ability to craft banners has now been given to all legends, not just those with the support class legend on their team. And don't worry, there has been some support class changes to offset this, and a specific overhaul to Lifeline, which we'll get into. But lastly, for this section of updates, we'll need to touch on the newly added loot bins and mythic bins, and specifically their reset. As for the regular loot bins, if you're close during the reset trying to run to get something before it closes, it will pop it out onto the ground and then reset, so this should help you in those moments. Also though, you can expect these loot bins to spawn fewer gold items as well. As for the mythic bins, they can now be tracked and pinged through walls more easily. They have improved logic to register if you already have a gold gun, and if you do, to give you something else. The location is now announced before spawning, it's marked on the mini and full maps, and a warning is issued in-game. The time to open has been reduced to 10 seconds was 11, and lastly they updated the mythic bin icon for better clarity and consistency. This does move us on to our weapon updates, so for this season let's get started with the L-Star. The damage has been increased to 18, was 17. The gold magazine now reduced the cool off time more than the purple megs, and they smoothed out some cool off animations. The longbow damage has been increased to 60, was 55. And the P2020's akimbo only base hipfire improvements. The Rampage LMG in the revved up state has an increased decay rate, reduced cost per shot, significantly increased energized capacity, and also successfully charging up the Rampage with a thermite will also trigger a reload now, which is pretty cool. Charging up the Sentinel with a boosted loader equipped and within activation criteria will overload the next mag as though it were a boosted reload. They also increased the energized capacity on it and increased the energized total time, but also successfully charging up the Sentinel with a shield cell will also trigger a reload. So a couple changes to those weapons that we amp up via a consumable. As for the Spitfire LMG, the damage has been increased to 19, was 18. The PK choke speed has been increased, and the triple take choke speed increased as well as the rate of fire slightly increased. So now we look at our legends, and before we jump into those, we need to highlight one in particular, and that's the Lifeline rework and support class changes I said we'd touch on. So firstly, Lifeline's passive now allows you to hold onto Doc mid-air and kind of glide briefly, as well as her ability to deploy Doc and revive a teammate, keeping her in fight. Her tactical still heals allies, but now will actually allow you to assign Doc to follow one teammate in particular, so that's also really cool. And alongside all this, her ult has been changed to a big halo shield wall bubble thing that will allow your team, when healing within it, to pop faster heals. So super cool rework to Lifeline. We do have the new legend upgrade system that has been put into this game, and so for her we are going to have some changes there. As you can see, for level 2 you can choose between Bat Pack, which gives you the 1 extra bat per stack and allows you to see battery counts in death boxes, or Extended Flight, which increases that time you can glide on Doc Drone for about 1.5 seconds. And for her level 3 abilities, you can choose between Enhanced Radio, which increases Doc assignment range by 50%, or Tactical Cooldown Plus, which reduces the tactical cooldown by 10 seconds. But moving on, and as promised, we're going to touch on those specific changes made to the support class. So now they get a perk called Heal Expert, which lets them move at full walk speed when healing. This perk also doubles the effectiveness of small heals. They get another perk though called Revive Expert, and this allows support legends to have a 25% faster revive, bringing it to about 4.5 seconds, and this will also grant health regen to the ally that they successfully revive, as well as themselves when they pull off the revive. Just note though, kind of like a conduit shield gain, it's not going to happen like immediately, it's going to slowly go up, and if you get shot it will interrupt that heal, so you got to make sure you get safe and continue healing. Additionally, banner crafting now spawns a mobile respawn beacon with it, and support legends can see mobile respawn beacons within death boxes. Looking now at the rest of the legends, and starting with Conduit, looking at her passive Savior Speed, it now works on allied death boxes and crafters when a banner can be retrieved. It now works on respawn beacons and mobile respawn beacons when carrying an allied banner, and it now works without the minimum range limit on down allies, allowing Conduit to race all the way to her fallen teammates. And as for her upgrade, she also gets the Bat Pack, which, in addition to the extra battery per stack, this upgrade now also shows the battery counts in Deathbox. They kind of combined a couple of the perks, and this will be for other legends as well, like Mirage and Horizons. Moving on to Crypto though, Surveillance Drone now takes ring damage, 10% per ring tick. As for his upgrades off the grid, players within 20 meters of Crypto will now be able to spot a faint cloaking flicker effect every 1.5 seconds to help identify hidden cryptos nearby. This, with the Crypto update, was making it hard to find cryptos. You can go invisible when you're in his drone, so hopefully this will kind of balance that. Also cloaking audio range, because there was an audio queue, but it was kind of hard, and so that, as well as the volume, has been increased, and so hopefully this will balance out Crypto. Looking at Gibraltar, however, his Dome of Protection, the cooldown has been reduced to 17 seconds, was 30, so that's huge, but it no longer can be destroyed by Crypto's EMP or Maggie's Wrecking Ball. So not only are you getting it faster, but it's more indestructible. For his upgrades, level 2 Fresh Start has been removed, and Shots have been removed. Instead, we get new Big Brother, which increases the alt radius by 20%, or the new Fast Shotties, which allows you to move faster with shotguns and auto-reload shotguns on knocks. Lastly, for Gibraltar, his level 3 upgrade Baby Bubble is now reduced cooldown to 12 seconds. Horizon only sees one quick change to her upgrades, and that's the battery collection being removed and instead replaced with that new Backpack perk. For Mirage, when you pop his ult, you'll actually no longer be able to see the health bar over the real Mirage, so a little bit of an upgrade there for him. But in terms of his actual upgrades, he too just sees the removal of Miracle Worker, and it's also just replaced with that new perk Backpack. Looking at Newcastle, who also got quite a bit of tweaks here, his mobile shield now actually no longer taking any damage, and it can also be repositioned when he's downed. His revive shield has been increased by 50% HP, so at white it's 300 damage you can take, at blue 450, purple and gold 750. For his upgrades at level 2, the thick shield was removed and a new Hero's Hustle is added, which greatly increases the move speed when reviving. And as for his level 3 upgrades, firstly, Stronghold, the castle wall, its HP been increased to 500, but then he gets a new Ultimate Savior perk, which allows his castle wall to grant regen to allies within the radius, and it's going to last for 15 seconds, of course, like other gains to health and shields. If you take damage, it will pause that, and so you're going to have to get safe, and of course, it will not start regeneration until you're actually revived, like if you're down, so you're not just going to start getting health while knocked. So personally, I think this is some big ups in our support category and for our healers, but we have a couple other legends to talk about real quick. We'll look at Revenant. When he's forged in Shadows, the shield will now regen up to 50 HP instead of instantly refreshing after 3-second delay. And for Watson, her level 2 upgrades, Fresh Start was also removed, and instead she gets Revive Expert, which technically gives her the access to that new support class Revive Expert perk, and that's going to just allow her to revive allies faster and with that HP regen for herself and said person that she revives. But that does wrap up our legends. Moving next into our game modes, which we'll talk about the LaunchRoyal and kind of what Ehpex looked like back in 2019 if you're not familiar. But real quick, we're also just going to touch on ranked. And before we do that, the straight shot revival mode, it's also going to be coming back for some weekend rotations. We'll post up on screen here, November 22nd to 25th, and then November 29th to December 2nd. And this mode will have the Rift relics that are new to the season. And then Trios revival will also be making its return from December 6 to 9 and December 13 to 16. Again, I was a fan of the revival modes, but for a whole season it did start to get a bit frustrating. So our first couple months of Mixtape sees from November 12th to December 16th TDM Control Gun Run, and for December 17th January 6th Big TDM Control and Gun Run, as well as Lockdown returning. Briefly looking at ranked as well, they adjust the entry cost tuning for Platinum tier and above, so Platinum tier entry cost is now 45 RP, Diamond is 65 RP, and Master Plus is 90 RP, as well as the ranked skill display changes that they've recently added, which I think is kind of cool. Just kind of discloses the ranks of all the legends as they're actually like loading in to showcase what kind of matchup you're looking at for the entire game. But now, for the big one. What did Ehpex look like back in 2019? What can we expect in this LaunchRoyal? Well, for some general changes, obviously the OG Kings map and POI is back, original loot distribution and items, player drops with no equipment, no healing. We're not in the armor core evo system, so you're gonna have to replace your armor, and there's also original ring timings and damage. For the legend changes, there's no like class legend perks and upgrades. Each legend has had the majority of their stats and abilities reverted to the first season's balance. They've reintroduced the ability to bunny hop while healing, reintroduced punch boosting where you can kind of punch the ground and it would give you a slight speed boost. Players can now infinitely jump on zip lines, and shields are not automatically regenerated on finishers. That's just exclusive to gold armor, as well as we have other equipment changes like the gold knockdown coming back, which allows for self revives, and the gold backpack, which allowed for faster healing, and again, like I said, that gold armor, which allows for shield regeneration on finishers. The original capacities on all magazines are back. No laser sights, sniper mags, energy mags, they didn't exist yet. Original hop ups like select fire Energy Choke, Turbocharger, and Skull Piercer are back. Helmet protection has been reverted to balance in the first season, and ammo stacks in the inventory have been changed to match the original carrying capacities. And then for our weapon changes, the original attachments on every gun, original tunings on all weapons, LaunchRoyal variants have been created to authentically recreate the feeling of the original weapon handlings. All hip fires reverted, and it's much tighter spread. All original gold-kitted weapons have been also restored. Global headshot damage is now on a 2.0, with some exceptions. And the original crate weapons come down in care packages, like the Mastiff, Kraber, and L-Star. But just getting into our final lists of fixes, the bug fixes and quality of life improvements. Firstly, a section for our graphics. The DX12 is no longer in beta. They fixed most significant causes of stuttering and extreme low FPS in the lobby. They've reduced the low end on CPUs. The cursor should now correctly align when using aspect ratios that don't match screen resolution. Tooltips and inventory and deathbox menus should now correctly be placed when the game is in full screen mode. Some remaining issues, however, though, trying to stream on higher levels with a lower end machine still causes some stuttering, so they're trying to still work on that. And for the PS5 Pro players out there, they've kind of increased the resolution slightly and the frame rate's a bit more stable in performance mode. Continuing on, though, all legends will now be unlocked for Bot Royale. Ballistic's ult will once again speed up the L-Star's overheat animation. They fixed an issue where players would receive an aim punch when in heat shield when outside the ring. The gun shield generator and Gibraltar's arm shield should now respect the incoming direction of the projectile when deciding to deal carryover damage to the player. Low ammo indicators will no longer display when inside of Fight Night on Olympus. Players will now be highlighted in the void when using PS5 performance mode. For some quality of life improvements, the big mod is now stocking Akimbo Mozambiques and P2020s. The mobile respawn beacons deploy much quicker. Newcastle's wall has its improvements as we talked about earlier, but they also made an improvement to allow the expanding wall to try and curve a bit more. And they've also messed with the smoke volumes and dissipation and visuals of that, as well as the health bar visual within the smoke, so we should see some improvements there. Some quality of life improvements to our Ehpex packs. They're actually bringing back a BP Retro pack containing previously released Battle Pass items from specific seasons. They've also added a loot pool browser, which allows you to clearly preview the possible loot pools, probabilities, disclosure information, etc. They've also added a mass pack opening option, and they've also added a Spark bonus meter. This meter will earn you limited time rewards by filling it as you open eligible packs marked by a spark icon, and this will feature periodically throughout the season. Lastly, in our firing range for quality of life improvements for death boxes, each player can only spawn one death box and the previous one will dissolve if another one occurs in short succession, and death boxes in general will dissolve after 90 seconds. They've also added full combat hard dummies, which will take cover and be way more aggressive and accurate with their shots. They'll execute juke maneuvers when closer to a player and use a variety of weapons and even throw thermites. Lastly, since Nessie was a little late to trick-or-treating this year, she's brought a new friend to make up for it, so have fun finding that in the firing range. Very last mention for news from the Rift, we'll of course have our Battle Pass and the ability to earn a new Universal Heirloom from November 5th, the launch here, to January 7th, which comes with its deck box and variants like our past Universal Heirlooms, but personally it doesn't do anything crazy for me. I did just get some shards, so maybe, and if you have been holding on to some after July 7th, this will become available in the Mythic Artifact tab, so you have to let me know if this Raptor's Claw is on your Mythic list, but I might lean towards a different one. Anyways, it's been a bit of a hefty one today, so thanks for tuning into the video and supporting the channel. I know I'm definitely excited about the stripped back OG Kings Canyon queue, with the LaunchRoyal, where we can remember what it was like to have fun in this game. Of course, some of our other system and game improvements are intriguing, and the Lifeline rework sounds good, as well as these From the Rift boosts and relic weapons. So if you want to come catch some of the action live, links are down below. And while you're down there, consider subscribing and drop a heckin' like for more Ehpex videos like this one. But as always, I just appreciate you for being here. Stay safe, stay gaming, and I'll see you in the next one. COMMs out.